Okay, cool. Just a little intro on who you are and maybe where you're from.
So I'm Aroha and I'm from Pureroa. I grew up here and moved to Wanganui for a little while, and then I came back home. Yeah.
How come?
I went to Wanganui because my mum and my sister were living there. I grew up with my grandparents, and then moved away to have my whānau because I was a young mum.
Yeah.
And then when I come back for my granddad because
Oh,
he was dying. So yeah, and I stayed. So,
Awesome. And what makes you want to share your story on the Let Me Speak campaign?
It's been a long time for me, like since the passing of my children. My daughter saw the post come up on Insta and was like, "Oh, Mum, you should do this." And I said, "Oh, what's that?" Had a look at it and I was like, "Oh, yeah, maybe." And then I kind of just thinged it off, and then she was like, "Oh, Mum, do it." And I said, "Oh, ask Auntie." So my sister messaged and said, 4 o'clock. And I was like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, no, and then reflecting on it since we got given the time, I was like, "Oh, actually, I probably got lots to share."
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey for me. It's been 22 years this year.
Wow.
And I've just learned a lot in that 22 years. As hard as it was, I'm just like in the light now. So I thought it's probably nice for those that it's really fresh.
Yeah.
To see that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Like it can get better, and I guess that life is still beautiful.
Yeah.
Like there's still lots of love in the world, and that doesn't have to be the end.
I love that. With that being said, where does your journey begin?
I guess when I was 17, and living with my grandparents, growing up, all of my aunties and my sister and that, they all had children young. So my grandfather had said to me, "Don't get pregnant, don't you get pregnant, okay?" And I was like, "Whatever."
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And he's just like, "No, I mean it, don't you get pregnant or I'll disown you." And I was like, "Whatever, I don't care." Kind of thing. So I got pregnant and I was not quite 18. And
Was it planned or unplanned?
Unplanned.
Unplanned.
Definitely unplanned. So I was like, "Oh, fuck this. I'm not going to let him disown me, I'll just get." So I rang my cousin who also grew up with us at our grandparents, and I said, "Look, I need somewhere to go. I can't be here anymore." So I moved in with her, and then things kind of went south with my boyfriend at the time.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend. We were all living together, and I was like, "Oh, what am I going to do now?" Like, I was kind of stuck, like, I don't know what to do. I can't go back to my grandparents. So I rang my mum in Wanganui, and she said, "Oh, there's a house for rent in front of me. Come and move in." And I was just like, "Okay." So we sorted that all out, and I moved up there.
Wow.
Rang my auntie and uncle, who have always been there for me. They came, picked up all my stuff, and we just moved. So that was us. We moved there in 99, I think it was. And then I had my daughter January 2000. And first baby. And
how was it?
Yeah, it was cool. I like being a mum was really natural to me.
Yeah.
It was just like that was my purpose. When she was about 6 weeks old, we took her to our GP to get her injections and stuff.
Yeah.
And when we were there, I'm not sure if she was a nurse or what, one of the Māori nurses there said, "Oh, do you think she's a funny colour?" And I said, "Oh, no, like she's Māori, like she's brown." Because me and my partner are Māori. And she goes, "Oh, it's just that like you guys are quite fair and she's quite dark." And I thought, well, okay, that's a bit racist.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Bitch,
what are you
fuck?
insinuating?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what is this? And anyway, she just said, oh, I just asked because usually with babies with that kind of colouring, there's something wrong with their heart. And I went, oh. And she was looking at her hands and feet and stuff, and she goes, oh, I'll tell the doctor and then we'll see what they think. So that was kind of freaky.
Yeah.
And then we saw the doctor and everything, and they were like, oh, yeah, maybe there may be something there. We have to get you an appointment with a specialist. And then I said, oh, well, actually, my sister has been saying, like, her hands and feet are always cold. Like, we're like always putting socks and mittens and like really wrapping her hands and feet because they were cold and purple looking always.
Wow.
And then he said, oh, yeah, that could be the heart. And I was like, okay, so what do I do now? And they said, oh, just wait for a specialist appointment. And I was like, okay. He said it'll come in the mail because everything was done like that back then.
Yeah.
And then just wait. Don't go to the hospital because they won't be able to do anything. You need to see a specialist. So the appointment didn't come for, I think, a week. And that lady turned up at my house. And she just...
That nurse?
Yeah, that Māori nurse. She turned up at my house and she said, oh, have you heard from the specialist yet? And I said, oh, no, I haven't got an appointment yet. She goes, oh, I think you should just go to the hospital. And I said, oh,
wow.
But they said not to. I had to wait for an appointment. She goes, oh, just take them. It can't hurt. Take her. It can't hurt. So we took her to the hospital and went to A&E and said, you know, look, they think there's something's wrong with her heart. Can someone please check her out? And the nurse there was quite rude to me, the one on the reception. And I just felt really judged by her being 18. She's like, no, you need to wait for a specialist appointment, just real abrupt and stuff like that. And I was just like, well, I've been waiting, but I've been advised to come here. Can you please just check?
Yeah.
Just check her out. Is there something that you can do to just find out? And they said, oh, she goes, oh, well, you'll have to see a nurse then because you're supposed to wait for an appointment. And I said, well, that's fine. I will see a nurse, but someone needs to check her out. She goes, well, I don't know how long your wait's going to be. And I was like, that's fine.
Oh,
and then I was getting angry.
Yeah.
I said, that's fine, but I'm not leaving until somebody tells me that she's okay. So that was all right. We waited quite a while. And then they took me to a room and grabbed one of those machines that they put on their fingers or toes to read their oxygen saturations in the blood. And she kind of like went, oh, that's not right. Something's not right. She goes, I'll be back. And then she left. And then she comes back with another machine. And then she does it again. And she's like, oh. And I'm sitting there going, what's going on? What's happening? And she goes, oh, hang on a minute. I just need a doctor. And then they went and got a doctor. And then they bring the doctor in. And then there was more doctors coming in and more nurses. And then all of a sudden, everyone's surrounding my baby. And I'm like, what is happening here? I don't understand why all these people are in here. Is there something wrong with her? Is it her heart? And then they were kind of like, okay, this is quite bad. Her oxygen saturations were at 30 and they should be at 100.
Oh, fuck.
So they were like, yeah, it's quite bad. We need to do this, and this, and get some fluids into her and all of that kind of stuff. Because she would drink, because I was breastfeeding, she would drink, but she'd get tired before she'd get full.
Oh.
So, there was just lots going on for her. And then next minute they're asking me for permission to shave her head, to put a line in her head because her veins were too small and they couldn't get a line in. And I was just like, oh my God,
fuck.
this is so surreal. I can't believe this is happening. Then they put us in the Westpac helicopter and we flew to Wellington in the helicopter. And then I don't even know how long we were there, but I hadn't slept. I kind of nodded off in the helicopter. And by then it had, I think, been 24 hours. We were in Wellington and just lots going on and lots of people trying to get a hold of me, like ringing the hospital, because cell phones weren't really the thing
true
back then.
Yeah.
And then they tell me, I have to go to Auckland. So we were in Wellington for a few hours, and because we had whānau here, they were coming to see what had happened. And I said, don't come, we're going to Auckland now. So we jumped on a plane to Auckland, ended up at Green Lane Hospital.
Yeah.
And they did all their tests and scans and whatnot, and she needed surgery. So she had her surgery. And
how old was she at that time?
She was about 7 weeks old. Yeah. And she had her surgeries, and then they explained the type of heart condition she had, which was called tetralogy of Fallot with pulmonary atresia, which is basically 5 different problems with the heart. It's quite a rare condition, but yeah, so they fixed it. They put in a shunt or a stent or something like that, and I think by then my boyfriend at the time, her dad had flown up, and he was there with me as well, and everything was fine with her. She recovered from the surgery well, and we took her home about a week later. We had to go back for another one when she was around about 6 months old. They said she'd need another surgery because she's going to get bigger, and what they put in, they'd need to change.
Bit bigger?
Bit bigger, yeah, and then she'd need another one when she was older, and multiple surgeries basically to keep fixing it. So we took her home and everything was great. She had to go back at about 5 months old for a catheterization, I think that it was. They put dye in just to see which way the blood was flowing, making sure it was going the right ways, and then what they needed to do. So they booked us for the surgery in August of 2000 to get the next shunt or stint in, put that one in.
Yeah.
So that one I went alone. I think someone was with me for the second one, but the third one we're like, we couldn't afford to either, being so young and whatnot. We're just like, I'll just go, it's fine, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
It was booked to have her surgery on the 15th of August, which is my niece's first birthday.
Yeah.
So we had a first birthday for my niece before we went to Auckland, and got to Auckland on the 14th. Everything was cool. We went sightseeing and stuff like that, and just took her out in the pram, and
how was she? Day. She was all good?
Yeah, she was perfect. She was absolutely perfect. I had video of her, I don't know where it's gone now, of our day that we spent together. And then early the next morning, they took her for surgery. I think it was about 7 a.m. when they came and said, we're going to take her now. And I said, I thought you were taking her at 9. And they said, no, that's when the surgery is booked for. We need to take her and get her ready.
Prepped and, yeah.
So I was like a bit like, oh, shit, because I'd just woken up and didn't want to let her go yet.
Yeah.
So they took her. And that was the last time I saw her alive. And I spent the whole day waiting for her to come out of surgery. And I kept going to check the nursing station and said, any nerves, is she okay? And they'd say, no, everything's on track, like things are going well. At about, I think it must have been about 6 o'clock, because they told me it was going to be a long surgery.
Yeah.
It was a big job that they had to do. I think at about 7 or 8, they had I think they'd given me a pager or something like that, and they were going to beat me when I come back.
Yeah.
At about 6 or 7, I can't even remember the times really, I'd gone back and I said, oh look, it's taken, like, it's longer than they said they were going to be. Do you know anything? And the nurse said to me, oh look, they've done the surgery, they're just having trouble getting her off the bypass machine. So the bypass machine keeps, like, the blood flowing or the heart beating or something like that while they operate on it. They can't take it off. And I said, well, I didn't understand. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Just turn it off? Like,
She was fine before that.
yeah, what do you mean? Just turn the machine off. Like, take it off and then close her up and then give it back to me. And they kind of explained it a little bit, like, about her heart won't start on its own. So I said, well, what are they doing then? They said, oh, they're just going to keep trying. They'll put her back on it to keep her alive, and then they'll try and turn it off and hopefully her heart will start beating on its own. That happened about 3 or 4 times over the course of 2 hours. And I think the last time I'd spoken to a nurse and I said, oh, I can't deal with this. I need to go for a smoke. So I was going downstairs to have a smoke, and I got to the elevator and I pushed the button, and then I heard the nurse come running after me, and I, like, spun around and I was like, yeah, and then I just looked at her face and I was just like, oh, no. I just remember, like, kicking and punching the walls, screaming like, no, no. I was like, just let me in if she hears me. I was like, let me go in. If she hears me, she'll come back. It's been too long away from me. But they wouldn't. They couldn't. So then I spoke to the doctor, and she rattled off the complications that they had. She was a lot smaller than they had anticipated, which made the surgery more difficult. She also explained that with her condition and the severity of it and how rare it was, when she got to about 13, she'd most likely need a heart and lung transplant. Like that, her heart and lungs would only last her until she was 13, and at the time I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, that's not cool. Like, it doesn't make it any better, but yeah. So then I had to tell my family, because obviously I was alone.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
The first person to ring me was Moy. And she said, oh, how's it going? Why haven't you called? And I was just like crying, and she goes, what's wrong? I said, oh, she's gone. She died. And then Moy threw the phone. And my mum picked it up and she said, baby, what's wrong? And I said, she died, Mum. And it was just horrible, like, being there alone. I didn't know what to do. I was stuck in this strange place. I'd never been to Auckland before. I was only 18.
Yeah.
I didn't even think I could drive then. I couldn't drive. Her father's auntie and uncle lived there. When they found out, they came to the hospital to be with me. An auntie and uncle of ours that had been like our parents, they'd been our mother and father figure growing up. They called me while I was there, and they were obviously upset. And then my uncle just said to me, oh, can I come and get you? And I just said, yeah. Please come and get me. I don't know what to do. So they drove up from Live-In. They lived in Live-In. I think they got about halfway and then they realised, shit, we should pick up my boyfriend. So they had to turn around and go and pick him up. Oh, they turned right back around to swap cars so that they could fit all of us in. And picked him up, and then they got to Auckland about 6 a.m. I don't know how they got there that fast, but it was fast. And then we brought our baby back here to Purerua, even though we lived on Wanganui. I didn't want to bury her there, that wasn't home. So we bring her here and buried her at Whenua Tapu. My great-grandmother was there at the time, and I just wanted her to be at home in case I ever moved away from Wanganui, because Wanganui wasn't home for me. So we brought her home. Following that, her passing was really like dark times, as you'd know. I was quite suicidal for a long time. I just didn't feel like I had a purpose anymore. And people were around me, like people were supporting me. My whānau, like they're amazing. I love my family. They're amazing, but they just they weren't what I needed. I needed my baby. So, a number of times I, tried to take my own life. I just wanted to be with her again. And then I decided, I think one time I had a knife and I locked myself in the bathroom because it's the only place I could get some peace when people go, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm not okay. So I locked myself in the bathroom and had a knife with me. And I just wanted to be with my baby. But as I held it to my wrists, I pictured my whānau and how they would feel having to bury me. And it was my nieces, Tanika and Michaela, because they'd just buried, their cousin and didn't understand and so young themselves. I was like, I can't do that to them. This feeling is shit. For me as an adult, I can't do that to them. So I had to pick myself back up, and another auntie who lived in Wanganui had said, look, come and do this course with me, we'll keep you busy, kind of thing. So I did that with her, and I hated it because I hated being around people and having to put on a brave face and not be able to wallow in self-pity and my grief and all of that. But I did it, and it did help a little. It helped a little. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was probably what I needed at the time to keep busy and, try and live. So I ended up, my partner decided that we were going to try again and have another baby. I really wanted another baby. So we were trying for a long time. Actually, it wasn't even that long. It felt long. It was probably about 4 or 5 months later I was pregnant again, but that felt like forever. And then I had my daughter, Kyla, and that life was good again. Like I felt like I had purpose again. And I still grieved for my baby, but I was okay. I could sit in it and be okay because I could look at her and think, this is awesome. I've got a baby there, and I've got this baby here, and she's gonna get so much love and affection and everything she wants, and never, know the struggles of life like we had. So I had her, and then when she was about 10 months old, I found out I was pregnant again.
Get it, girl.
Yeah, that was a shock. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? She's not even one.
No. Okay, calm down.
Yeah, I was like, okay. She wasn't even one at the time.
You're right.
But I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, this is cool. I can do this. And was really excited. We were having a boy, so this was our third child, and he was a boy. Oh, something I probably didn't mention was that with my daughter's heart condition, they said that because it was so rare that it's likely that I have a 25% chance of having another. So like 1 in 4 children for me and him, like if we had more kids together, 1 in 4 would have that. So we had all those specialist appointments with each pregnancy, and they did really in-depth heart scans and stuff.
Like high risk.
Yeah, definitely. And they were fine. Their hearts were fine. They were absolutely perfect. So, yeah, I had Kyla in 2001, and then I had Easton in 2003. And he was just the best baby. He was really cool. Like, Kyla was a really good baby too. She was a little mohio, I know it all, but she was a good girl, and he was great as well. When he was about 7 months old as well, so my daughter was 7 months old when she passed. When he was 7 months old, in August as well. She died in August the 15th. On the morning of the 29th of August 2003, I woke up in a fright, and I thought, shit, what's the time? And I had a clock right in front of me. I was like, what? I've slept in, like, why hasn't my baby woken me up yet? And Kyla was next to me, because she'd sneak out of her bed and jump into mine, and I like sat up, looked at the clock, and I went, no, fuck off. And then I jumped out of bed and ran to my son's room, which was right next to my room, and I opened the door, and I was like, why is this door? It was really weird. The door was like mostly closed but not fully closed, and I pushed the door open, and his cot was right there, and I just looked under his cot, and I was like, oh nah, like, he was dead. And I just screamed the house down and ran over to his cot, and I picked him up. He was cold. And my screams must have woke Kyla and her dad. They came running and said, what's wrong? The dad, Corey, said, what's wrong? And I was shaking and crying, and I said, he's dead. And he said, what do I do? And I said, I don't fucking know, ring an ambulance. So he ran to the phone and rang an ambulance. And they made me do CPR on him. They told me to do CPR, and I was like, he's gone. I'm like, I can't. And they said, just try and do it. Do you know how to do it? And I said, yeah, I do. So I tried. I said, look, he's already gone. So I was telling them on the phone, he's already gone. And they said, how do you know he's gone? I said, because he's cold and he's hard. So we brought him home too. And he's buried at Whenua Tapu, just a little bit away from his sister. And of course I went through all of that, those feelings, those emotions again, like the first one. But this time I had a little girl to take care of. And that was hard. It was tough being brave for her and not wanting her to see me upset and crying, hiding my grief, and having to get up every day and pretend that it's okay and push through those negative feelings for her. So she basically saved me, my daughter, and she knows it. But I had to be strong for her, and eventually when we moved back here we had another boy. And it's not like, I guess, that I felt like they'd come back to me, to be fair, but they're not as well. Like, part of them had come back to me, like having the 2 girls and then the 2 boys. It felt like they'd come back to me to make me better again. Yeah. And I had my cords tied after that. I was like, I'm not doing this again. There's no way I'm having any more children. Like, I can't potentially lose another. So when my son was really little, he must have been about 2.5 or 3, we were at my nana's house, and he was just sitting on the couch and he said, "Oh, Mum, remember when I died?" And I said, "What? No, you didn't die. Don't talk like that." And he goes, yes, remember? And I said, "No, I don't remember, Raiden. You didn't die." And he goes, "Yes, I did. I was in your tummy and then I came out and then I died and I came back to you because I missed you." And I was just like, oh my God. Like, I obviously burst into tears and ran outside and tried to hide from everybody. But like, that was a beautiful moment. Yeah, just him saying, like, it was like reaffirming that, oh yeah, okay. Because I suppose those hardest years of grief, yeah, had lots of hate towards yourself and life and everything like that, and think I must have done something fucking wrong to have been put through this much pain. Like, to have to go through it once is horrible, but to have to do it twice, that's just not fucking fair.
Cruel.
Yeah, it's fucking cruel. So I don't know what the fuck the point is in life. Like, that's where I was at. But having him, I felt better again, and I'm not whole, because you're never going to be whole. But he did make me feel so much better and able to cope with life and actually want to set goals and make something of myself for them, for those 2 that are here. Like, they're here, I've got to keep living and I've got to make their lives better and all of this kind of stuff. So, actually I probably have to take it back a little bit. After my son had died, Easton, our mum wasn't coping. He was the first boy in her family. She's got 2 daughters. Yeah. And then she had 4 granddaughters. So he was the first boy. She wasn't coping very well with her grief. And I didn't see that. I didn't know that. And I didn't care. All I knew was my grief. Yeah. All I knew was my own. I couldn't think about other people's because mine was too much to bear. I couldn't take on the load for other people as well. One day, we had some concerns about Mum because she hadn't been going to work. She was supposed to move out of her place, but she hadn't, and nobody had seen or heard from her. So I went round to her house and knocked on all the windows, and that, like, the house was locked up, and I was like, oh, I don't know where she is. She's probably drinking somewhere, whatever. And I went home. That night I couldn't stop thinking about her, and I was just like, oh, fuck's sakes. I So I went back the next day and had Kyla with me. And we walked around the house again. I was like, oh, I don't know where she is. I looked in the window and I saw blood on the walls in the toilet, and I was like, oh, gross. Like, just thought it was period.
Mm.
And then just something inside of me said, just go in. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. Just listened to myself. And I opened one of the windows that I knew couldn't lock, and I jumped through Kyla in, and then I jumped in. And then I was like in the house, and I was like calling out to her, Mum, Mum, I'm walking around the house. Then I got to her bedroom, and I was like, Mum. And there was like wine bottles everywhere, and I was just like, oh, here she goes, drowning her sorrows. Like, we didn't have the best relationship because I grew up with my grandparents. So I wasn't very
sympathetic.
And I was just like, what are you doing? Come on, get up. Look, your landlord rang. You need to be out of your house this weekend. And I was like trying to wake her, and then she was just like real groggy. And I was just like, Mum, hurry up, get up. And I just looked down to the side of me, and I saw all these pill bottles, and I went, oh, fuck. So I grabbed Kyla and I took her into the lounge and gave her some toys, and I closed the door. And then I started shaking on her. I was like, what are you doing? Get up. You need to get up now. And I'm getting angry. I said, get up. And she started crying. And I said, look, don't worry about it. We'll sort it out. Like, you can come and stay with me. We just have to make a plan. That's all we need to do is make a plan what you're going to do next. And she said, oh, I lost my job. And I said, that's it's okay. You just come stay with me, and then we'll sort something out. We have to get this house packed up. And she was crying, and then she goes, Barb. I said, what? Hurry up, get up. And then she pulled the blankets back, and she'd slit her wrists, and it was wide open. I could see everything. And when she pulled the blanket back, her whole bed was in a pool of blood, and I was just angry. I was so angry. I was in a fit of rage by then, and I grabbed her and I started smacking her, and I was like, what are you doing? And then she just said, oh, I miss Kay Shani and Easton, blah, 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 and my job and my house and all of, all the stuff was going. She was hitting rock bottom. She hit rock bottom. And all I could think of was, you fucking selfish bitch. Excuse my language. I was angry at her, threw her in the car, and my daughter, I took her to the hospital, and on the way there, she's like blubbering about, how she's been coping with the baby's death, and everything's just too much for her and stuff like that. And I just said, it's too much for you. What about me? I said, that's so unfair of you to expect me to bury my mum. I just buried 2 kids, Mum. That's selfish. So I took her to the hospital, and I rang Molly and I said, oh, you need to come up to the hospital. Mum's done this. So they came up, and I left. I couldn't be there. I was too angry with her, and I felt robbed.
Yeah.
I felt robbed of that, because if anyone was going to do that, it should be me. Fast forward to today. I have a granddaughter, and she is everything to me. And I understand my mum now. So that's probably something, like the main thing I wanted to share, and me and my sister have talked about it a bit, as I've had revelations about life and about our mum and things like that. I was so engrossed in my own grief that I didn't see anyone else's. I couldn't. And that's not my fault. I'm entitled to that. But the perspective I have now is that, oh shit, that must be really tough for you. How was it for you? Like, now that I feel at peace.
But I think you have to get to that point,
Yeah, you do.
Because, that's what this campaign has actually, and this is, Alaska passed away in 2013, and it's taken for this week of this campaign for me to actually stop and think, holy fuck, Mum and Dad are fucking grieving. Not once did I stop to think how the fuck Mum and Dad feel.
So many other people.
But at the same time, like you said, I couldn't take that on.
No.
Shit, I had to try to stand up on my own 2 fucking feet before I try and hold anyone else up.
You gotta crawl before you can walk, yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think that's probably the one of the taboo things that is like the grief is just for the parents. And having been there now and now being a grandmother, my mum was my world. So I kind of can see that and think, no, actually, my mum was right. I wasn't right. I didn't know. I didn't know any better. And our mum's passed.
Like, her grief was justified.
Her grief was just as valid as mine. Like, because how I'd said, that wasn't your right. To take your life for them, because that was mine. That was something that I had to overcome. Why didn't you? And it's harder because their grief isn't visible like ours is as the parents. And then, something I shared with Moy, and I was like, I didn't really understand her, and I didn't try to understand her grief because I was too deep in mine. And everyone else is like, she had, like, my children had big whānau that they all loved her, and they all would have been grieving, but I couldn't see it. But yeah, that's probably something, the latest lesson, I should say. There's always going to be lessons as you go through different stages of life. But that's probably the most recent lesson that I've had is, actually, the grandparents matter. And it's not something that you understand fully until you're a grandparent. And I was like, oops, I get it now.
Yeah. I don't know. Far out. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with us today?
I think that was probably the biggest thing for me was other people's grief.
How did you get through your healing, do you think?
A day at a time.
Yeah.
Definitely a day at a time. And I used to think I did it alone.
Yeah.
But there were little things that my whānau were doing that I didn't even realise, because you're in a tunnel, in a dark tunnel, you can't see. But like, our uncle had come and taken me away to their batch that they had, and we'd gone out hunting and whatnot, and there was things like that. Another auntie had taken me to do a course and get some skills and stuff like that. Just the frequent visits. That whānau really did wrap around me. Yeah, but I just didn't realise. I thought I was alone. Yeah.
And what would you say to any whānau that might be going through that currently?
Just because you don't want to do something, just give it a try. It can't hurt to try and be, like other people have said, and be uncomfortable in that. Like, I didn't want to do those things that my whānau were making me do or asking me to do. I did not want to. And I just went along with it to keep them quiet and keep them off my case. And I hated every moment of it, but it was part of the healing. Yeah. So just give it a try as much as you don't want to. You can't push people away because you can't do it alone. Yeah. It's not possible.
Love that. Well, on behalf of CWK and us, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your journey, and we wish you and your whānau the best for your future.